The story I'm going to talk about tonight is a bit of a memory. It's a bit of a memory play. It's a bit of a memory story. I've got some notes, so I hope you don't mind. But my story begins, well, back in the early 70s, I suppose, on the Atherton Tablelands, which is in far north Queensland, inland from Cairns, 3,000 feet above sea level. Beautiful little place called Malanda, where I grew up. And it was an amazing place because it was a place of hope and beginnings and all wonderful kinds of things. And I didn't start out in a very wonderful family, I have to admit. I had a father who believed that 3,000 kilometres between him and his children was probably too close. So I had a mother who raised us from the beginning, my sister and I, and two incredible women who were my grandmothers. And they were all storytellers. And they empowered me, I think, as a storyteller. And I had a mother who worked in drapery and selling furniture. And so, and she ended up owning the shop in this tiny little town. And I used to have to be someone who, learned how to cut curtains and do all this kind of stuff, and would drive the old truck and deliver furniture and everything. And so I think I learned a lot about space and design and all of that kind of thing from my mum without even realising it. But the thing that I really wanted more than anything else was, I suppose, to leave that place and to go on a journey. And I think I did that because when I was a boy, she gave me this atlas. And it was for my 10th birthday, I think. And it was this hardcover atlas. And I remember opening it up. And there was this incredible little poem that said, "The world is wide, the seas are green, yet hills and mountains I have not seen. Here in my chair I sit and stare. What will I do, oh brother?" And I used to read that and read that and read that and look at all the countries in the world and plan where I would go and plan my trips and plan my discoveries. And so eventually my first discovery took me from Malanda on the Atherton Tableland to Brisbane, which I remember getting here and going, wow, look at those buildings, they're so tall. And I'm talking the mid-80s. So they weren't that tall then. And I went to university and I fell into studying drama when I discovered that you could do drama as part of a literature major at UQ. And it was amazing. All of a sudden I'm learning about, 15th century drama and contemporary drama and all kinds of stuff. And the work of Peter Brook and the work of Jerzy Grotowski. And we had this professor who'd just come back from Paris where he'd been working and studying with the Théâtre du Soleil. With Ariane Manouchkin. And I thought, that's the kind of theatre I want to make. I want to make theatre that makes a difference. Do you know, I've actually never been on a film set in my life. If you said, make a film, I'd say, well, here's the camera, I'm going to stick it and point it at you. And I know there's something called, finding your mark and close up, etc., etc. I don't know much about film at all. I'll freely admit it. My passion is working on a stage with people, alive, in that moment. And my favourite place in the world is to actually stand on the side of the stage when the show's happening, in that liminal space where these incredibly brave people called actors cross over and go from being them to becoming this hybrid character, creature, where they tell amazing stories. And so for me, as a storyteller, I like to enable other storytellers. That's my gig, I suppose. And so I followed my gut to Brisbane, and then after a few years and after study and after going out and teaching and then going back and doing an honours degree, I suddenly found myself being someone suggesting, apply for a Fulbright, go to America. And I'd already been there once, and I'd spoken to the people at Carnegie Mellon, and they were really groovy and great people. I can't believe I just said groovy, I apologise, I'll take it back. They were wonderful. My son would cringe. So a few years later, I find that I've applied for a Fulbright, I've got the Fulbright, I've applied to go to Carnegie Mellon, and the guy there who runs the program says, don't come to LA, that's ridiculous. What I want you to do is put everything you've got onto, it used to be VHS, so back in the day, and so put it all on VHS and send it to me, which I did. And the next minute, I was in the MFA directing program at Carnegie Mellon, and my world had just turned upside down, and I was there in Pittsburgh, and it was amazing and breathtaking, because all these people did was dream and think and believe and imagine through theatre. It was just so wonderful. And what was even better was that the Moscow Art Theatre School were in residence. And that was just so incredible, because I was working with people who had almost worked with Stanislavski. And what so many of us learn about what Stanislavski meant and what he did is most of it's wrong. And I was working with this guy called Adolf Shapiro, who then chose an assistant. And he chose one assistant director out of the directing pool. And he chose the Australian. And the Americans weren't very happy about that. And I was the Australian that he chose. And so my job was to sit against the wall and keep my mouth absolutely shut and watch as he directed in Russian. And this incredible young bloke called Sasha would translate and to the actors who were not Russian, but who'd come from all around the world. And so he was working on The Three Sisters. And I still remember this day when it wasn't my gut that was alive, it was every part of me. When he, as a director, did what you shouldn't do. He said, oh, that was terrible. I want to show you how to do it. But this is a 68-year-old man who's in his jeans and his jumper, and he goes up on stage and starts to play Natasha in The Three Sisters. And all of a sudden, my friend who's in the program and who's playing Olya and standing at the window, she's crying, she's sobbing. And the other actors had totally changed. And the hair on the back of my head was standing up. And the hair on my arms was standing up. And I thought, this is the best piece of theatre I've ever seen in my life. This man has totally transformed his energy to play Natasha. And I thought, that's the kind of theatre I want to make. I want to make theatre that enables and empowers actors and mythologises characters and takes people in the audience on this great, phenomenal, wonderful journey. That's what I want to do. And I want to make theatre that somehow emboldens humanity. I'm not interested in doing the Broadway musical unless the Broadway musical can help people find a better version of them. That's why I make theatre. How many minutes is that? Okay, so I was there, and then of course all good things have to come to an end, and I came back to Australia. I turned it into a PhD. We started a theatre journal called Ignite here in Brisbane. This is back in the late 90s, and I never finished the PhD because I was too busy doing so many other things. And then, you know, life changes, and all of a sudden I'm a dad, and I need a full-time job, and I go back to my teaching career because it pays full-time, and you know how hard it is to get a full-time gig in the arts. It's impossible, pretty much. And then I have students saying to me, the way forward is really limited. How do I, you know, if I don't go to QUT and do an acting program or somewhere else, what do I do? And what if and so I created an independent theatre company that was about emerging artists, and it was called Heartbeast Vicious Theatre Ensemble, because the most important, best moments in your life are vicious. And I mean vicious in a good way. I mean like that moment you dash across the traffic and you make it to the other side. Or the moment you go outside and there's an incredible storm and you can see the forked lightning and you can smell that incredible smell after the rain. Or you walk under a tree after it's been raining, or you smell a rose. Or that kiss that you remember, that one kiss that's beautiful and perfect and lovely and you take with you for the rest of your life. That's what I meant by a vicious theatre ensemble. And it was, I suppose it was empowered, and the ideas of it came from companies like the Théâtre du Soleil. And I wanted it to be about the mythologisation of who we are. I don't want to see Home and Away on stage. I don't want to see Home and Away at all. But you know, but show me more. Give me more. Make me want to cry. And not because I empathise as an audience member. I want to be beyond empathy in the audience. So that company went for a while, and then it kind of changed form. The people involved got frightened. They wanted to do different kind of things, and I went through a process of my little sister, my beautiful little sister, having gone through her second lot of cancer. Finally, she died, and left behind a little 2-year-old boy. And then my nana died, and then my grandma first, and then my nana, and then my mum, and then my granddad, and I became the eulogist. Really great at giving eulogies. I'm available for hire. And I would tell their stories. And I always spoke from the gut, and I always spoke from the heart. And I kind of went away from theatre, not very much. I still did like 2 plays a year, but that was not many for me. And then about 3 years ago, my beautiful friend Peter Crease said, I think it's time we did something else. And we started, what are we going to call it? And I said, the Curators. Made it up then and there. And we did this production of Uncle Vanya. The first time in 86 years it had been staged in Brisbane. Unbelievable. And I love Chekhov. I think Chekhov is amazing and so dynamic and so much about life. And then we did a couple of other shows, and the group grew, and it's metamorphosized and it's changed, and I walked out of my full-time job. I said, I'm not going to do it anymore. It's not what I wanted. Never wanted to do it. And we created an independent training program with ARC, and that's 4 years ago. And now we're about to present this incredible play called Vincent River, which is all about love and passion and fear and life. And I was going to do that show 20 years ago with Penny Everingham at Metro, and it just never happened. And so now we've got 2 amazing Brisbane actors who are giving everything they've got and love it, and they're wonderful, and it's the kind of theatre that you can taste and you can touch, and it's real and it's beyond real. It's in your gut. It's off your gut. So I suppose I followed my guts from Malanda to Vincent River, and it's been a long journey, and that's taken me across continents, and it's been a wonderful journey, and I can't wait to see where my gut takes me next.